ex-manager Hansi Flick, this current Barça side have simply been steamrolling their competition. And that is what they're looking to do here tonight. And they're off to a flying start. Here's Rafinha. It's a one-on-one with Manuel Neuer. Can he finish it off? And yes, he does. Rafinha puts in the 1-0 in under a minute. Can you believe it? Barça head into this game loyal to their game plan. Quick in putting their...
We're live, folks. Yes, indeed. It is Thursday. It is October 24th, and I would like to welcome all of you, trusty, loyal viewers of Churros y Tácticas, to another Patreon edition. It is a post-match review, and of course, a Clásico preview. Yes, indeed. We are back. And that is not just churros, it is also Fútbol Club Barcelona manhandling La Bestia Negra, the Bane, the badly translated Black Beast of Fútbol Club Barcelona, Bayern, on the receiving end of an absolute thumping, an emphatic, triumphant, glorious 4-1. It ended on the night between the two European juggernauts, and after 9 long years, after 6 excruciating games, Barça can once again say that they got the upper hand over the German giants. Take nothing away from this win. A remarkable night on the Magical Mountain was experienced last night. We are here to break it all down and to get into the thick of things for our Patreons only. It is a two-parter. I just put up a little post asking for your questions. Your questions will be entertained in tomorrow's podcast. Again, for your ears only, because you are the loyalist of loyal. Please do submit your questions, as we are going to start with the first point of the day, and that is that match day 3 of the Champions League marked red in all of our calendars because it was going to be the biggest test of the season at that point, because it was Bayern, because it was ahead of the Clásico. My goodness. As you can imagine, I am feeling rather good, and I'm feeling rather optimistic ahead of what is, I like to call, the world's top club football match, a Madrid-Barça in this case, looming in the background. And there's quite simply no better way to head into this match the way that Barça and Madrid did, I have to say. Madrid coming fresh off of that 5-2 victory, another remontada, another espíritu de Juanito helped the Blancos get over the hump. Hey, Stella Vinicius with some fine goals for the upcoming Balón de Oro winner allowed Madrid to, well, be feeling good about themselves ahead of the Clásico. I would say for good reason, were it not for the fact that Barça, and you'll have to excuse my bias, we're coming in hot, folks. I mean, we're coming in hot. We are coming in, like I just said earlier. By the way, yes, that was my commentary. I had the pleasure to commentate that delicious Barça Bayern last night for Barça 1. Please, oh please, do me a favor. Check it out. It is free to register. In fact, you don't even need to register. Just download the app Barça 1. You can watch all of the games. Liga, Champions League. They get published straight away after the games are finished. And, well, it was a doozy, y'all. I am happy. It is good. It feels so good to feel confident once again coming on this humble podcast we call Churros y Tácticas after that magical night at the Estadio Lluís Companys. Barça once again defeating the Germans, thanks to their ex-manager Hansi Flick. And listen, let me just bask a little bit in my own little personal glory and give you a taste of the commentating from last night. You heard the first goal. Here is Rafinha's hat trick.
Rafinha, will he get his hat trick? He shoots, and he does! Rafinha with his hat trick in the 56th minute of the second half. Can you believe it? The Brazilian forward having the time of his life. It is the game of his career. Here at Barça, certainly. Stand up from off of your seat and bow to this man right here. Effort that gets finished to perfection. For a fourth time, does Manuel Neuer have to look behind him and see how the ball hits the back of the net? And by the way, it is Barça 4, Bayern 1.
All right, I could have maybe 2x that speed a little bit. You know what? I've always been open. I'm not a match commentator. I have great respect for the art of match commentating. I am much better at presenting than I am at match commentating. But when I do get a chance to, witness or rather prepare myself for these kind of games to commentate them as the lead commentator, I do enjoy it. I try to do it the best to my abilities. Doesn't always work out. That's why the art of improv is so greatly respected on my part and appreciated. But hey, it is what it is. It's in the records now. It is in the books. And I'm happy to have put my name behind that historic 4-1 win. Listen, I know where I'm at. I know this is churros. I know the majority of you watching, if you still are, by the way, is our Madridistas. And let me just pump the brakes real quick and explain exactly why this was so important. I said at the top of the broadcast, 9 years later, 6 defeats later, out of 10, I think they beat us 8 times, the last 10 times that we played. They certainly have the bragging rights still when it comes to statistics. I think they have like 24 wins in total or something. This being our third in our history. So that is one of the reasons. Another reason is because let's not forget that 9 years ago, the last time that we beat them in the 2014-15 season with that Messi display where he took on, Boateng in that, one of the Champions League competition's best goals of all time. That was the 8-2 at the hands of Hansi Flick. That was the start of Barça's demise on the European stage. And to be able to come back, to be able to have such an important win, such a convincing and dominating performance against Sea Germans, it just means so much. I know that I'm quite what's the word, like emotional, or I get carried away with these kind of moments and celebrate these victories as well because I feel them. It feels good. And I know it's not a title, but it's the importance behind these victories. The fact that these young players in the 90 minutes, 9 players of La Masia played. 6 of the starters were 21 or younger. It's just, you can't even start to fathom when you think of the fact that, I know this has been reiterated a lot, but I think not enough. A 17-year-old Lamine Yamal making light work at times of the likes of Alphonso Davies, Upamecano, seasoned players, defenders, and he's there nutmegging them, putting in key assists, passes. Of course, I need to talk about Casado. I mean, oh my goodness. Marc Casado. When we all thought that Bernal was going to be the guy, the discovery of the season, he got an injury that kept him sidelined for the remainder of the season. And in his place, I should say both of them really had a good preseason. But out of Casado and Bernal, Bernal was generally viewed as like the he was going to be the Busquets, right? Let's put it that way. He was going to be that starter. And for Casado to step up, not just in this game, but also this game, but all the other games so far this season, it's phenomenal. You know, his off-the-ball work rate is something, I don't know, we should study it in universities, football academies, should take a look at it and show their young players of what it takes for somebody that maybe isn't as technically gifted as a Lamine Yamal, maybe doesn't pass the eye test as much, you know, isn't as clinical as Robert Lewandowski in front of goal, doesn't do everything that Rafinha does, but does his job ever so well, does exactly what his manager asked from him. You talk a lot about fundamentals, you know, in for example, basketball. Fundamentally sound is synonymous to Casado. That's the only way I can put it. The kid is a fundamentally sound player and just continues to astonish and amaze with his performances at such a young age against these juggernauts. Listen, we've got Dani Olmo back. We've got Frenkie de Jong back. But right now, Hansi Flick has got a real pickle when it comes to choosing who his man will be, who that third midfielder will be. I say third, you know, who his two midfielders will be, because we're talking about Casado, we're talking about Fermin Lopez as well, who's that kind of that third wheel, if you will, who did phenomenal yesterday again, setting up Lewandowski, you know, providing, 2 assists on the night? No, not 2 assists, providing that 1 assist. But again, his work rate, his efforts, his understanding of what Hansi Flick wants from him, that running into space, the continuous press. I just tip my hat off, folks. I'm tipping my hat off. I've said it on this podcast before, and I'll say it again. It's a pleasure to see this team grow with the passing of each and every single game. It is a thing of beauty. It's a thing of joy. All you culés here on this podcast, congratulations. Ya era hora. It was time. And up comes the Clásico. Wait, listen, before we get into it, a couple of stat bombs I want to throw your way, because these are really quite astonishing. There's no doubt that the name of the game, the standout, the MVP, is of course to the scorer of the hat-trick, Rafinha. We've had our Romarios, we've had our Ronaldos, Rivaldos, Ronaldinhos, and the Neymar. But once again, Brazilian legacy gets written with an R in Barça, in Rafinha, and well deserved. Not the way that we have grown from the prior Brazilians that have passed through the club before him. He's done it in a different way, came very much questioned, came from Leeds, a team that was being relegated, or on the verge of relegation, I should say. He salvaged them, or he was part of the reason why they salvaged their survival in the English top flight for another year. Came over to Barça with a hefty price tag, given Barca's financial situations. It is true that, as Jordi Cruyff mentioned himself, there were many transfers happening at the time with the 100 million mark. So to sign a Rafinha, which was 50-something plus an add-on bonus in total, I guess, and I hope, we're going to reach that 75 million mark, which would be the total transfer. But for him, and the scrutiny he received, right? Always questioned, always doubted by, I would say, a large portion of the Barca fans, me included, at a certain time, even though statistically, what didn't maybe pass the eye test in numbers certainly did pass the test. And Xavi trusted in him, as did Hansi Flick. He quite literally came out in the post-match press conference and said, not once but twice, to Barca 1, and then in the press the post-match press conference. He said, "I've never had a player like Rafinha in my team. He does everything well. He does everything that I ask from him. When it comes to pressing, when it comes to ball recuperation, when it comes to understanding the space and time, everything that I've asked from him, which is why he's one of the team captains, not because of Hansi Flick deemed so, but because of his teammates, a player, an athlete, a professional that leads by example, that wants to triumph here at Barça, came from a very difficult background, mind you, like many players, of course, from Brazilian, that is, from the favelas, passed through Portugal, went through England, signed on to Deco's agency, eventually making his way to Barça with the shadow of the prior Brazilians, the shadow that was casted over him, by this one in particular, of course. Another shout out here to moji-mates.com. Don't forget about that coupon, right? You got the Clásico 2024 discount code for the website for all these cool shirts. But, he has grown. He's grown exponentially, I would say, dare I say, in this new role as a leader of the team, of the locker room. Yesterday as well, with the armband, led by example from the get-go. It wasn't even a minute before the Brazilian El Capitán got his first goal, first of three, and just basically executing that Hansi Flick game plan to perfection. Pressing, quick to run, exploiting that space. Of course, Company and his Bayern coming with a similar game plan as to Barça that is what they've implemented for since Company's arrival. It's very clear that Vincent Company, the Belgian manager, is a pupil of Pep Guardiola. More poised, more paused approach, more Pep Guardiola approach, if you will, as you don't mind me to partake in a little Juernes beverage, adult beverage, but I'm flabbergasted, man. The guy has 9 goals so far this season. In the past 2 seasons, he scored 10 goals in each season. He's already on 9 now. We're not even halfway through. It's hard to kind of single out the revelation of the season. A Marc Casador could be easily one, but a Rafinha could also be one, right? I'm going to stick to my guns. I need to retrieve that clip when I said on this very podcast that Rafinha is going to be, y me he puesto los cojones encima de la mesa, right? I've put everything on the line. I said Rafinha was going to be the key player, the most important player for Hansi Flick in this upcoming season, and he's proven exactly that. I didn't have a magical crystal ball. It was based on the preseason. It was based on what you heard, what you saw on the training grounds, the way you saw the manager speak, the way you saw the player approach. Already in preseason, Barça looked, fit. They looked healthy. And that dynamic has continued over the course of this season. Short season so far. We're only just getting started. I know that. And but what starts well ends well. At least that's how I like to think of it. I can't see this season go wrong. And mind you, my objectives at the beginning of the season was to compete, right? I wanted to compete for La Liga. I wanted to compete for the Champions League, compete for the Copa del Rey. And this team last night proved that we can compete with the very best, with Europe's finest. We had the test against Bayern. Now we're going to have a big test again at the Bernabeu in the Clásico. And I'm happy that Madrid won 5-2, because it just raises the stakes. It raises the excitement, the motivation for the players and fans alike. Surely, I think leading into this week, Madrid were pretty downtrodden given the way that they had been playing. I certainly haven't been impressed result-wise. It's been great. 7 wins and 3 draws. I don't know at the top of my head. Barça, though, all wins except for one. Leaders by 3 points. It's first against second coming up on Saturday. Man, I'm just so excited. I don't want to, I have family visiting, I have my kids staying up, but I might do a churros right after the game if things go well. If they don't, then probably not. Or, it all depends on time permitting. But I'm loving it right now, man. I'm loving it. Kian, we miss you. I miss you. I hope things are well over at Managing Minions. But, man, here at Churros, it's a shame that you're not here, my friend. It's been 7 years we've been running this podcast, and you've been getting the better of me for the large majority of it. Now that we're in this moment of delight for culés, ¿Dónde estás, Kian? Please do come back. So, with that being said, I would love to know what your thoughts are of yesterday's game. A game that really, quite frankly, played out to my ideal expectations. I was optimistic heading into it. And people are like, hindsight. They were telling me in the office, and I said, no. I genuinely thought that we were going to have an emphatic night. I would have signed for a 1-0 or a 1-0 win, a narrow margin. But inside of me, I felt that it was going to be a night to remember, not to call it dare I say, a historic night, even though we're just in the league phase. But I felt we were ready to turn the page. I felt that we were ready to write a new chapter, a triumphant one, in this long history between these two top European sides. And that proved to be the case. It was just, we see it time and time again, this team facing challenges head on, even when receiving setbacks, whether it's in form of injuries, whether it's in form of, score lines. The legs don't buckle. I want to say, with no disrespect to Xavi, but had we conceded that goal, had this been last year when we conceded the equalizer, doubts would have maybe crept in a little bit more, uncertainty, a little bit more run, as they say here, a little bit more of discomfort, and nerves would have settled in the Estadio Lluís Companys, but that wasn't the case yesterday. Yes, we got dominated for, let's call it 15 minutes after we scored. Hansi Flick even said maybe that 1-0 came too early because Bayern stuck to their game plan as well. Respects to Kompany's team for wanting to impose their style of play and beating Barça when it comes to possession, right? In the end, I think we walked away with 30% possession, the first time that we got beaten in terms of possession in the entire season by any team. But still, maximum efficiency, right? 4 shots on goal, 4 goals, and rather than cowering or buckling under the pressure after receiving Harry Kane's equalizer set up by Gnabry, we responded in heroic fashion. Levy getting his goal as well, his first goal against his ex-team. Finally, I feel like maybe he could have gotten one more as well. Was very close to doing so in that second half. He didn't in the end. A 4-1, I'll take it, against the Germans. Half as good as Hansi inflicted upon us when we met each other in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. That 8-2 drubbing. Now it's a 4-1, and it tastes so good. 100 games for Rafinha. Sticking with the Rafinha topic a little bit because, like I said, his evolution has just been remarkable. I can't really think of a player that came with that etiqueta, with that label of sort of being like, questioned that much to then just grow into such a standout performer. So he wasn't even called up by Brazil, not this one, but the last one, last time ago. Now you can't imagine any team, any national coach not wanting a player like Rafinha in his team. And again, to echo the words of Hansi Flick, he's never had a player like this. I think there's a lot more to that what the eye doesn't necessarily, what doesn't meet the eye. but I'm so proud. This is such a likable team. This team made up of youngsters, of Masia players. Hansi Flick is just so enamored with La Masia style as well. The philosophy, rather. He talks. Can't have enough words when he talks about the compañerismo, the level of like teammateship. Am I saying that right? The level of compassion that these players have on a human level with each other. He says that culturally, there's something there, and it's a joy for him to train these players. There's a human side, a human element to these players in the locker room. We already heard that with Xavi as well. And I think Hansi has just been able to manage that in a way where he's imposed his authority, because obviously the players respect him very much. He has his rules. You don't want to be late. Jules Koundé found that out real quick to like charlas, pep talks, or practices. But at the same time, he's just a very personable coach, and the players, they have fed off of this, and it resonates. Despite the cultural barrier, the language barrier, and all that, there's something about this Hansi Flick that has just clicked, and his staff, I should say, that has clicked with this team. Also, the physicians have joined. They are local Catalan or Spanish physicians. They make sure that this team is just sharp. Players coming back from injuries. Olmo getting some minutes. Frenkie de Jong getting some minutes. Gavi, of course, as well. Am I going to have this dumb smile on my face for this entire podcast? Listen, I know a lot of you have to endure me being happy, and that might be something that you don't usually see on this podcast. I hope you stick around for the ride, because it's going to be an entertaining and fun season. Montjuic yesterday registering 50,312 spectators, the highest attendance in the history of Barça and Montjuic, beating by 3 Napoli. Just 3 spectators, the previous record. PSG it was actually. PSG had the highest. It was 50,309 spectators. So by 3, that record got broken. And it's just all... It couldn't be any better. Ter Stegen's injury aside, Araujo is going to come back soon. What's going to happen with Araujo? That back line right now between Inigo Martinez, Pau Cubarsí, Jules Koundé, Alejandro Balde, these players are going to have to fight for their spot, and it's a luxury problem. It's one that I'm sure Hansi Flick can't wait to have upon his hands. The more players, the better. The more players fit, the more you can choose from, of course. And these players have shown that they are ready. They're ready for this challenge. They're ready to take it head on. And it's all happening in mere days, folks. The Clásico is coming up Saturday, 9 p.m. kickoff at the Estadio Bernabeu. What are we going to get? It's going to be electric. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an entertaining match. That's for sure. I'm fancying my chances. I'm going to go for a 2-4 win, so a 4-2 win for Barça. I know that Madrid will score a couple. I know that Vini will get one for sure. What will the end result be? That is, of course, a matter that only time will tell. But listen, I'm going to end this one here. I want to know what your questions are. I want to do good to our community, this Churros community that we built over the course of these 7 years. It is Madrid-Barça rather coming up in a couple of days. We're going to do another one tomorrow to, again, attend to your needs and queries. Please drop your comments in the comment section below or on the Patreon page. Let's not dwindle. Let's not let this little Churros community where Madridistas and culés unite and meet. I wouldn't say maybe unite. At least we come together in some form. Let's not let this slip away. I've noticed that the views have been a little bit low lately, and it pains me to see that. I hope you guys are appreciating and enjoying some of the content that I put up there. It's as creative as can be, with skits, with music, with raps. There's one thing you can't say, and that is that I don't try to be creative and bring you some of that Barça goodness, some of that content that you guys pay for to support this humble podcast called Churros y Tácticas. Been running for a while. Kian, we miss you, buddy. I do hope that you come back. Hope you're enjoying your time in Madrid. And for me, Diego Logain, I'm signing off on this euphoric tone, excited tone. I can't wait. A Clásico that I'm rubbing my hands for, and we're all very excited. Listen, folks, thank you ever so much for supporting this podcast. Let your voices be heard. Speak up. Submit your questions. The part 2 is coming tomorrow. Friday is back-to-back churros for our patrons only. I'm signing off. See you then.